Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a new offering from Mongoose Traveler for second edition, The Trailing Frontier by Martin Doherty. This is brand new, just came out as of the making this video, came out last week, end of April, I think April 27th. And it's out in e-form now, and then the paper version comes out in August. So I'm going to take a look through this and what I like about it and what I like about it. I love Gateway. It was one of the first places that I ever played Traveler, thanks to the old Judges Guild uh, sector maps and things like that. I know they've long since been decanonized. I don't care. I still love them. I still pull them out occasionally. I also did a video on them probably about 2 years ago by now. But today we're going to go through what the contents are of the Trailing Frontier. We're going to talk about Gateway and Ley sectors and what's really cool about this book. There was a lot in this book that I enjoyed, and there's a lot of good nostalgia in here for me. Martin Doherty wrote the T20 book about this same region, and some of the material found its way into here. Sometime down the line, I'll take a look at that book. I like that book. Sometime I'll take a look at it, but what's in here, some of it's the same, but it's all updated. The artwork's cleaner, crisper, more professional. It's a really nice. This is a really nice product. So the other thing I want to say is subscribers, please do. Channel still continues to grow. I want to keep it growing. As of the filming of this, we're a little over 2,500 subscribers. We can double that. Let's just keep building it. I'll settle for that. Also, please take a look at the Patreon. I do offer rewards now. So take a look at that and see if there's anything you can do to help me out there. But back to this, The Trailing Frontier for Traveler Mongoose 2nd edition, today on page 121. The Trailing Frontier. This was a somewhat, I don't want to use the word neglected, but maybe an underutilized section of the Imperium. In the early days, from the Judges Guild products, we got quite a few sector maps from the Trailing Frontier. Those, of course, have long since been decanonized, whatever you want to call them. I still have a tremendous soft spot in my heart for those things. But this is a good look at the Trailing Frontier for Traveler. And by Trailing Frontier, we're looking at the opposite of the Spinward Marches. Here is the Imperium. We are over here. We are in Ley sector and Gateway sector. So if you were to look on the Traveler map, and you're just looking at the map of the Traveler universe, you would be looking to the areas to the right. So you have the Salamani Rim down to the bottom, and then you've got Spinward Marches to the left, and then to the right would be the Trailing. And it's all based on the directions for the galaxy used in Traveler. Trailing is the direction that the galaxy is not spinning in. It's the anti-spinward. So here we have, this is for, the credits are Martin J. Doherty, and this guy was just published at the end of April. The hardcover comes out in August, but I have the e-copy right now. We got a nice little introduction. We get some good-looking artwork. Those are Kukri, presumably the Lords of Thunder. We're going to talk about them a little bit in here. We get a nice history of the Trailing Frontier, which was really cool. A lot of this had a nice air of nostalgia for me because, as I said in the opening, a lot of my earliest Traveler days were spent in Ley and Gateway sectors because of the Judges Guild stuff. And the Spinward Marches was still developing, but not completely developed yet. So we gamed a lot in the Ley and Gateway sectors. So it's kind of exciting for me to read this book. A lot of nice nostalgia. So here we go. There's the map I just showed you, showing Ley sector right there, and then the Gateway sector right there. You can go on Traveler Map and find both these things. Traveler Map, beautiful resource. I recommend highly. I use it all the time. So we got to look at the history of the area. We get the rise of the Villani and the consolidation wars, because aren't there always consolidation wars? The fall of the Villani, this would be a reference to the First Imperium. And then the Ramshackle Empire, the Empire of Man, the Second Imperium. And then the Twilight, going into the Long Night. Some beautiful artwork in this guy. I really like the spacecraft work on here especially. We get the pre-dawn years, and then the coming of the Third Imperium, and then Imperial expansion into the area, Imperial consolidation, upheaval in Gateway. Gateway is a neat little section of this. I'll get to it a little bit later, but Gateway itself and Gateway the planet, see the air quotes, are pretty cool in this. I'd kind of forgotten about that, honestly, by the time when I read this. We got the Sedimic War, the post-Civil War years, the Soleimani Rim War, and then the post-war years. Why the Soleimani Rim War? Why do we care about that? Well, because this section has a ton of Soleimani and Soleimani influence, and it's not terribly far from the Soleimani Rim astrographically. So the idea that the Soleimani have some influence here made the Rim War something important in this section. We get the post-war years, the plunge, economic plunge, a recovery, and then a nice timeline. So I always like a nice timeline for the section that we're talking about in a book. It helps you consolidate everything you just read. This guy's 3 pages long, which I love. It takes us to 1098, and of course we're in the Imperial year 1105. Now we got to look at the people of the trailing frontiers. And one of the things they talk about here are the various travel zones. Those are done by Journal of Travelers Aid Society in the Imperium, the fictional magazine. They set amber and red zones to let people know. Well, those don't exist entirely because a lot of, especially Gateway sector, are not in the Imperium. So you have to kind of be aware of local conditions. You're not going to have the JTAS to kind of warn you off. So we got to look at the people, the humans of the trailing frontiers, the Jonkarine, the Luriani. I love the Luriani. I remember them as being one of the first alien races that we dealt with in Traveler. The Luriani are basically genetically modified humans who can live and work underwater. The Sidites. And then we get, whoops, sorry, I got a little far ahead of myself here. You can have Jonkarine travelers. Here's what the little blue box is for. It tells you how to use your, to make them travelers. Same with the Luriani. So any of the blue boxes tell us how to convert them to traveler characters. The Sidites with their 4 arms. Interestingly, the text talks about the, I believe it's the upper arms being the strong ones, or the weak ones, and the lower arms being the strong ones. Let's see. And the picture is showing the opposite. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see. In addition, with working with the lower limbs, the Sidite strength gains +2. When undertaking work with the lower limbs folded, Dex gains +2. So the lower limbs are supposed to be the weaker, or the stronger ones. The upper are supposed to be the weaker. But interesting picture. Then we get the non-human races, the Akid. And then we get debates and mediation of the Akid. It's kind of neat. And to be an Akid player, to be a character. The Capri. I know it should probably be Capri, but that's too much like Mary Tyler Moore's slacks from the old Dick Van Dyke Show. So I'm going to call them the Capri. They are also called the Remnants because they consider themselves a dying race. Here's how you could play one of the dying race. The Droashav. Very interesting race in that they may be the, it's suspected that might be related to the Kukri in some way. And the Kukri, well, not yet, but it could be given that the Kukri think these are the Ganak, the legendary carnivore that hunted the Kukri back in prehistory before Kukri gained intelligence and wiped them out. And then we have the Far, and then we have some uplifted species. I was a little disappointed in this because there's really not much given on the uplifted species. I know that there's uplifted species dealt with in other Traveler books, but to just give a short paragraph to uplifted apes, 3 paragraphs to dolphin and orca, 2 to Ursa, and you get some characteristics to play in Ursa. I thought that was a little short. I know that there's an excellent book for Clement Sector, Uplifts. I've already taken a look at that on my channel about a year ago, where you can actually take a look at the uplifted species, and that gives a lot more details, and that translates beautifully to Mongoose 2nd. But I was a little disappointed in that. I want to see a little bit more about the uplifts. The Vargir, who don't consider themselves necessarily uplifts per se, and the Wandering People, and how you could play a Wandering People. And now we take a look at the Third Imperium, the portions of the gateway and lay sectors that are of the Third Imperium, and then how the Third Imperium influences them just by being nearby. So really nice. Martin Doherty writes a great book, great history of Traveler, especially because he wrote the original book on this about 20 years ago. And again, I know some of the material is recycled into this. I don't care. I don't ever mind that, because when it's recycled, it's also updated and made pretty, and I have no problem with that. So we're taking a look at the Imperial Administration and other services, so the bureaucracy, the diplomatic service, the colonial office, the Ministry of Justice, the Scout Service, the nobility, the Navy, Army and the Marines, and then Imperial forces in the Gateway. Now we take a look at the Lords of Thunder. The Lords of Thunder, for folks that aren't aware, are a faction of the Kukri. The Kukri are militant herbivores, centaurs, if you will. That's what humans tend to call them. And they are very much believe that the correct way of existing is to be herbivores. And they insist that any of their conquered people or whoever become herbivores. No more meat eating for you. The Lords of Thunder take that one step further and feel that the only way herbivores can ever be secure in the universe is to wipe out all carnivores. Don't give them a chance to stop eating meat. Make them stop eating meat by killing them. That's the Lords of Thunder in a nutshell. There's much more to the dynamic. The Lords of Thunder were first presented in, Journal of Travel? Mega Traveler Journal 4 by the Keith brothers. And it's long since out of print. It was Digest Game Publications, and it's long since out of print, unfortunately. But it is an outstanding book. It pops up on eBay. I've seen it a couple of times in the last few years. If you get a chance, I recommend it highly. But here we have a nice look at the Lords of Thunder, and it's a good long look at the Lords of Thunder. And then we get some of the local powers, the Kerr League, the Gallian Federation, the Trindel Federation, Plavian League, the Hochikan People's Assembly, the HPA. And then we get a nice look at the sectors themselves, how they're laid out. Some more of the factions, a little bit of the non-state organizations coming up. So this would be the Church of Stellar Divinity, Righteous Steve. I love that name. Corsairs, pirates, and privateers, because why not? The Imperium does not hold sway over much of this area, and pirates and corsairs thrive. We have an equal sentience movement. The Imperial megacorporations, how are they behaving out here? Well, pretty much like they always do. And we get a nice look at several of them: Delgado Trading, General Products, Gas Bag, I'm not going to try to say the thing, Hortales at Sea, Imperial Lines, Instel Arms, Ling Standard Products, Ma Kid Karun, Nasirka, Susag, Sharushid, Stern Metal, Tukara, and Ziron Karish. Boy, some of those are really tough. Volani names give me a problem. And then we have the Loyal Sector Guard, Free People's Alliance, the Long Night Remembrance, all kinds of different little powers and movers in this area. Now we get the actual look at the lay sector itself. There it is. That's how it's set up. And then we take a look at each of the subsectors. And I love that about this kind of book. I geek out big time for any kind of traveler map like that. These are just so much fun to sit and devour. And then sometimes I'll put it up on the TV or my laptop while I'm reading this, and I'll flip around to different things to get the information from two sides. It's really, this is such a great age of traveler right now. We got the Nightmare subsector. I always like the name of that one. Noir Deep subsector, and so on. I'm not going to name each of the subsectors, but you get the idea now. This is, of course, a source book, so it's going to have all the resources that are here and all the subsectors that you can have your travelers running around in. Some nice artwork there. I like that. And then Osiris Deep subsector. I love the name of that one. And keep going. Just about out. Frontier World subsector. We got about 5 more after this. Here we go. just trying to keep the dead air, so I'm going to keep chatting a little bit so we don't get any deep dead air. Outreamer subsector. Diamond Prince, I always like the name of that one. And now Outworld, I believe we're done. Yep, that's the last of them. And now we get to Gateway Sector. Gateway Sector, if you're looking for a true frontier sector that isn't the Spinward Marches, Gateway's a great one because it has much the same, but instead of Aslan everywhere, you've got Kukri and Hivers wandering around. Plenty of Vargir, still some occasional Aslan, Droin, pretty much every alien race you want you can get in these two sectors, Gateway especially. And again, I have a soft spot in my heart for Gateway because of that. Because when I started, one of the first alien races we interacted with were Kukri, and then later on the Hivers. I found the Hivers particularly intriguing. So there we go. I'm not gonna name each subsector. I'm just gonna chatter a little bit to keep the dead air from happening. And we're gonna zoom through all the subsectors, all 16 of them. And lots and lots of good stuff here, even if you're not going to game in the area. Right now, I don't have plans to do a campaign in this area, although next time I do Jump Point, maybe I'll just plunk my adventure over here just for a little variety and a little nostalgia for me. But I am shooting for a Jump Point, by the way, as long as I'm on the topic. I'm shooting for a Jump Point probably sometime in August. I'm going to see if I can get an area here closer to where I live, so we'll kind of do a south suburban Jump Point, and then I'm going to look to go back to Games Plus sometime in October or November and do a northern Jump Point. I'm hoping to start doing 2 a year. So more information as that builds up. Beautiful artwork. More information as that builds up on the future Jump Point and if it's going to happen. As I said, that'll probably be sometime in August, so plenty of notice. And then still going through, got about 5 more subsectors to finish. And again, I'm not belittling the work put into this or anything. It's simply that I don't want to focus on individual subsectors in this particular video. I want to do an overview of the entire book. So we got a few more subsectors. And Picard's Belt. I don't remember a Picard's Belt from way back when. I don't know if that's new or not. I frankly didn't really do a lot of research on that particular thing, but it makes me wonder if that's a little homage to Jean-Luc Picard of Star Trek Next Gen. And we're in the last subsector. Nice little critter there. And then High Guard for the Trailing Frontier. We get some anti-fighter missiles, complex missile operations, configurable fuel cargo space, Mongoose prototype Mason gun emplacement. All kinds of fun things. Yay! I love new stuff. And a planetology lab, vehicle bay. And then we get some nice spacecraft. Always got to love some spacecraft. Here's some of the Imperial ships. Here's a nice little fighter. This guy's a 10-ton fighter. I like a good 10-ton fighter. Nice, simple. We get a Rift Trader. I like this guy. I thought this is pretty neat. It's a 900-ton displacement and can carry 307.5 tons of cargo. So pretty good. Running costs are $24,377 a month, but with that much cargo space, you can probably cover that. And nice top-down maps. Yay! Thank you, Mongoose, for going back top-down. I don't mind the isometric. They're nice, but the top-downs are much easier for you to just show at the table and explain to your players. Galleon Federation ships, Deep Space Operations Vessel. One coming up I really was excited about. Prospecting Shuttle, why not? That's very Traveler. This screams Traveler to me. A Mining Shuttle, also screaming Traveler. Mobile Extraction Facility, that's the core module right there. 4,000-ton displacement. Very neat. I love these. Let's see. The Torcon mining module. Galleon Cruiser. This guy's 12,000-ton displacement. Nice little projecting some force cruiser with a great little map. Top down, as I say, I love these. Mongoose corporate vessels, a cargo lighter, an S-40 gunship. displacing 40 tons, of course. Gunship equipped merchant. This guy is displacement of 1,840 tons, which is interesting because it's not rounded to the 100. I do like that Traveler, for the most part, does round to the 100. It makes life easier. And Rankard Union vessels and independent starships and craft utility vessel right there. Super freighter. This guy is 40,000 ton displacement and carry over 24,000 tons of freight. You could literally put your 200-ton free trader in this thing's hold. I just think you could put several of them in this thing's hold. I think that's really cool. I like the idea of a super freighter. What a great target for pirates. 400-ton orbital defense platform. That looks like it's just out of Silent Death. I like that. Nice little gunship. 80-ton displacement, so not so little. The Predator gunship. Covert operations platform. This guy I was talking about. I'm pretty excited about this guy. I may actually do some kind of government function or government sponsored or corporate sponsored covert game and stick the covert operations platform in as the starship. And then we get some adventures in the Trailing Frontiers. Nice little adventure hooks. Things you can do in this area, what is peculiar to this area. Psionic Institutes. Interestingly, the psionics are not illegal throughout all of Gateway because it's not all Imperium. So you have some actually above board operational psionic institutes. So that's as much as you want to put it into your game. I like that a lot. And former Archduke Stefan and the loyal Sector Guard, he got deposed, as we find out in history. He got deposed as Archduke because of corruption and graft. Some mysteries of the Trailing Frontier. A couple pages of them. A little talk of the Lords of Thunder, and we're out. The other thing that I just want to touch on briefly is Gateway itself. Gateway is not only an area, it's also a man-made world. And it's past its heyday, but it's still very important in Gateway itself. That was one of the things I really remember when we were playing Traveler. I believe this is an old concept. If not, then my buddy was ahead of his time. But I think this came out of some of the older stuff, that there was an artificial world created in Gateway, and I believe we had a stopover at that. And I remember being really excited about Traveler because of things like that, and that's some of the stuff that got me hooked in this game. And now over 40 years later, I'm the only one in my original group still plays Traveler. But I've been through a number of Traveler groups, unfortunately. That's what happens over 40-some years. But my current group, which is my current D&D group, play a Traveler, Champions, Gamma World, Silent Death, Battletech. All these guys indulge all of my lunacy with these different games. It's been fun to be back, and it's been fun to rediscover some things like this. The Gateway stuff is some of the earliest stuff I dealt with, as I said, and it's really exciting to have it again in a new, modern, fresh format. So there we have it, the Trailing Frontier, brand new from Mongoose, retailed for $35 for the PDF, I believe. But I'll put a link to the PDF down below. And like I say, the paper copy comes out in August. But take a look at it. I think it's worth having. I'm very excited to add it to my library. And that's all I've got to say about it today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. If you like what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.